Hey, it's Karri Flatla here for this week's Friday Fire at Remax Real Estate Lethbridge and KarriFlatla.com. There is still so much confusion about blind bidding, aka multiple offers in real estate, and the government, the federal government in its infinite wisdom, has been making noise since its last budget about interfering with that process and opening up multiple offers to be transparent. So what that would mean is that buyers making offers on property would now see other buyers' offers that they're competing with. The way it works right now, at least in Alberta, is when there are multiple offers on a property, our code of conduct says that each offer is blind. That is, each buyer does not know the contents of the other buyer's, the competing buyer's offers. And personally, as a realtor, I like this way of doing it. I think it's more ethical, and I'll explain why in a minute. But you have to remember, as a buyer, the factors that you're taking into account when you make an offer on a home. You're basing it on a lot of things, and while it's a very emotional purchase, you also want to base it on your perceived market value and what the market around that home is doing and the features of that home. So you should be making your best offer and putting your best foot forward and what you feel comfortable with when you know that you're competing. However, let's think for a minute how the dynamic would change if suddenly when you put in your competing offer, you know what all the other offers are. That is now, in my mind, an auction. And let's think about buyer behavior in an auction. Buyer behavior in an auction, which is open, transparent bidding, is very different than buyer behavior when you don't know what the next three buyers beside you are going to do. And let's think about how rational people act in an auction. It's different. And I want to talk about behavioral economics theory or phenomenon that nobody's really talking about when we have this debate about blind bidding versus transparent bidding in real estate. And I don't know why nobody's talking about it. But what it is loss aversion. And human beings' brains get more excited about the anticipation of or fear of loss than they do about the anticipation of a win or a gain. So the brain lights up more intensely when you anticipate or perceive a possible loss. Okay, so how does that apply to multiple offers or bidding on a property that's hot? When buyers come to the table, even when they're not competing, it is an extremely emotionally charged process. Fortunately, if they have good representation with a realtor, that realtor can keep their feet on the ground, do some market research, and guide that buyer into drafting an offer with price, terms, conditions that make sense for the market and for that buyer. It's already emotional. There's already a lack of rationality in a purchase decision. Okay? And the realtor is there to kind of put your feet back on the ground and make sure that you're doing something that is reasonable within the parameters of the existing market, your financing parameters, your long-term goals for home ownership, etc., etc. Now, when you go to open or transparent bidding, that fear of loss, that loss aversion that's in our DNA kicks into high gear, because the minute you see the other buyer's price, you become afraid of losing the property on a whole new level. Okay, the urgency changes. And so the risk, in my opinion, of open bidding is that now you're going to actually drive up the home price even more. And of course, as a homeowner, you're going to want open bidding for a lot of reasons. Although I would argue that a lot of homeowners would find that process chaotic and stressful. Multiple offers aren't always as enjoyable as some people think they would be as a homeowner. So this concern by different governments in Canada that our real estate market is overheated is what's driving the feds to think we should go to transparent bidding. And to me, that's completely backwards in light of what we're talking about here. If you go to transparent bidding, I think we're going to actually see that inflate home prices even more, because you're tapping into a very deeply coded part of our brains that is very afraid of losing to the other guy. Okay? With blind bidding, at least the way we conduct it here in Alberta, it's a very controlled, systematic process, because the buyers come to the table, they submit their offer, they do not know what the other buyers are submitting. And I can say to those 3 realtors who have brought offers for their buyers, the seller will be reviewing all offers at a certain time tonight or tomorrow. Put your best foot forward. And it's more controlled, and the buyer has time to really think about what they're doing and how high they are comfortable with going. In an auction type scenario, I am not convinced that transparent bidding isn't going to actually cause more disorder in the real estate market, more hyperactive, increasing in bid prices, and buyers having more remorse at the end of that process. So that's my take. It's not really being talked about, the psychology of home buying, the psychology of blind bidding versus what's ultimately an auction, the ethics of having people attending an auction to buy a home in a hot market. I mean, think about a lot of first-time home buyers that are on a budget, they're on tight financing parameters to get a mortgage. I just don't think it's going to work in favor of the average Canadian to go to transparent bidding process. The way we do it in Alberta, I actually think is very ethical. It induces more of a calm process, and everybody has the opportunity to take their best shot at the value for the home that they are comfortable with. And if they don't get the home, then maybe they couldn't afford it to begin with. So that's my take on blind bidding versus transparent or auction bidding for real estate in Canada. The feds should, quite frankly, just stay out of it and let the market dictate. If you have any questions about multiple offers and how that affects your home buying decision or selling a home in Alberta, feel free to get in touch at 382-7335 by phone or text, or look me up at karriflatla.com. In the meantime, have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you for next Friday Fire. Take care.